Eevia Health has closed the books for the second quarter of 2022. With me, I have CEO Stein Ulve. How are you, Stein?
Very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. Could you give us just a brief summary of the developments this quarter?
Well, I mean, after a lot of hard work and effort, it's very gratifying to see results finally materialize. And these two first quarters of 2022, we implemented a lot of new production protocols, which are much more effective than we earlier had. And we also installed new equipment, providing us more capacity. So in combination, this gave us a much better power to speed up our production. And basically, our team has had a very, you could say, escalating learning curve. And as we dig deeper into the technologies, we learn the nuts and bolts of the technology, and we can start turning these to our advantage. So we keep opening what we call the black boxes, and as we do, we find much better ways to utilizing the equipment, materials, and accessories. So it's been a very positive development so far this year, and we open up and find new details which impact our capacities, and taking the technologies apart and putting things back together in smarter ways, we have actually quite huge effects. So slowly, I think we are moving now to the forefront of the industry in terms of use of technology, and we become more competitive as we go along here. So it's very motivating, actually, and it builds confidence. And I see also our team has a much more forward-leaning approach in utilizing external competence from industry consultants and so forth. An example today, we have an expert from Denmark visiting us, which assists us in finding the right atomizer parameters for our dryer. And we also use experts from Germany, Norway, Japan, and so forth. So these improvements are very important in production because they're also stabilizing our, you could say, calculations, profitability, production performance, and also our reliability. And that gives us much more confidence when in price setting, in marketing, in entering new large contracts. So many of our prospects and leads are looking for quite large contract volumes. So it's very important that we are confident in our ability to deliver, and that reduces the risk of the wrong delivery dates, wrong pricing decision, and so forth. So altogether, I think in this, so far this year, we've been catching up with backlogs, delivery pressures, and that creates a vantage point for now working to increase the sales and drive our growth. And it sets the tone for more active management of our sales opportunity pipeline and competitive position, which is important for driving the sales into 2023. So.
Now, I'm a numbers guy, I would say.
Yeah.
And one of the improvements that you mentioned here is the gross margin reaching 35%. Could you elaborate further on what parts were developed to increase that number?
Well, I mean, the key factor for us is the yield. So we have multiple yield measurements, but one is berry to product yield, for instance. So, and this yield is impacted by many factors. And also the weird thing is it's also impacted by productivity because it means in the form of shorter process times in production. The main reason is that the bioactives we work with they're basically unstable in liquid form. So they degenerate, and it's basically a race against time to recover as much bioactive material as possible. You have to be fast, and these polyphenols, or for instance, as the anthocyanins, they don't like temperatures, they don't like oxygen, they don't like light. So as an example, anthocyanins at 50 Celsius have a half time of 5 hours. So the less we expose the material to these factors and over less time, the better the yield will be. So, but the margin in the financial statements are also affected by the potency of the raw materials, and of course also the price of raw materials. So the truth is that the underlying improvement in production yields was much stronger actually in the first two quarters than the improvement in the financial margins indicate, because we also had some negative development in the price of raw materials, which partially offset the yield improvements. So, and also I would like to mention that the potency of the material is very important. So potency for us is the amount of bioactive per kilo of the raw material. And the potency important is in many ways, but it does not only affect what we call the berry to product ratio, but it also affects productivity. So higher potency means that we can use fewer berries and hence less work to achieve full loads per batch. So we did some mistakes in 2020 and 2021 in purchasing, not looking carefully enough at the potency. But we have learned, and we are building analytical capacity now to make for a more substantial number of analyses and making sure we have a very good control on the potency in everything we buy. So, but these things basically were the main factors behind the improvement in the gross profit and the margins.
Let's delve a bit more on that subject as well. In the CEO comments, I read that you have exciting plans for saving energy, solvents, and water. And you also mentioned that you have an established path for valorizing side streams such as fruit sugars and berry fibers. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Absolutely. So, yeah, our manufacturing needs a lot of energy in different forms. We need heat to evaporate liquids, but the same process needs cooling to condensate the vapor in the evaporation. And we need heat energy to thaw berries, etc. So when we need to thaw the berries, and we need to heat up the berry mass to undergo so-called enzyme treatment. This could require maybe 500-600 kilowatts per hour. Similarly, we also use a lot of steam to evaporate the liquids, as I said, and in our evaporation, the cooling media is glycol. We use glycol as the media there, and our volumes require, again, another 500-600 kilowatts per hour to cool the glycol after the evaporation to the correct temperature. So when we started to really digging into these questions of energy, and of course motivated by the global energy situation clearly, but also our drive for sustainability and lowering our energy costs, we got a lot of interesting ideas how we could save energy. So we realized that we could actually use available energy in new ways to reduce cost and resource consumption. So as an example, we're now preparing to use the energy which is in frozen berries. So obviously the cold in the frozen berries, we use that. Currently, we're actually thawing berries with steam energy. But now the idea is that we can use the cold in the berries to basically cool the glycol. So by using warm glycol from the evaporator to thaw the berries, we could also cool the glycol in the same go. So it's a double slam dunk here. We are using heating needed to solve the cooling need. And we have calculated that we can save maybe 500 kilowatt, which is needed to cool the glycol, while we save another 500 kilowatt to thaw the berry. So it would be saving 1,000 kilowatt per hour. It's quite incredible combination of approaches. And now we're looking at the specific changes we need to do to the system to have this implemented. So same goes for water. Every month we use about 4 million liters of water. We are attacking now every piece of equipment in the factory that is consuming water. So to see if we can reduce consumption, circulate the water, find new ways of reducing the consumption. So one machine alone stands for 50% of the water consumption. And we're now looking at technology to reduce this to 90% or by 90%. And then as we were talking about, the other side streams are also very interesting. Just as an example, we put a couple of tons of fruit sugars into the wastewater every 24 hours. And these sugars and also organic acids, they are very nutritious. They contain many useful compounds that certainly can be used for the benefit of humans and animals. Or as a minimum, they could be burned for energy. So we are looking at ways of capturing now and producing these sugars into products, and we're investigating commercial applications for concentrated sugars instead of having this going to waste. Similar, I could talk about ethanol, berry fibers, and so on, but basically looking at valorizing everything, the whole mass balance and everything coming out of the factory into commercial products. That's a way to go for us.
Now, a very important topic, Stein, of course, is the financial position. The cash at bank amounted to 0.6 million euros here at the end of Q2, and the net debt was 4.0 million euros. Now, given the development in the operating result and the net cash flow here during Q2, how do you see Eevia's financial position going forward?
So, I mean, looking at the balance sheet, we actually have quite a significant amount of prepayments from customers, and they're listed under advances, and they're also categorized as short term. So, but the truth is that many of these prepayments are actually financing also longer term contracts. So they are not necessarily short term debt, at least not entirely. So that also changes a little bit of the profile of the debt side of the balance sheet. But yeah, our financial position is really a function of three main factors: our profitability as measured by the cash flow from operation, the capital expenditures we undertake, and of course the changes we see in the working capital or the net working capital due to growth in sales and so forth. So as we go forward, I think we need to find a balance between these three factors and our ability to attract funding, both foreign capital, debt, and equity. And we are very focused now on achieving positive cash flow. And we also think that at least for this phase, which is let's say this capacity level that should take us to about 25 million euro. For this phase, we think the capex budget now is leveling out. So, and then of course you have the question of increased net working capital requirements from the growth. But yeah, all in all, I think we still need to work on ensuring that we have the growth financing, both from banks, investors, and of course we are also now looking into utilizing non-dilutive funding sources, which we also think has a significant potential. So all in all, we can do that to ensure we maintain adequate financial position while we are developing the company. So.
Thank you, Stein. Now a last question as well. As an investor in Eevia, what do you think is particularly interesting for the rest of the year or this coming period?
Well, I mean, it's always we bring in new larger sales contracts, also sales contracts and orders from kind of medium-sized prospects and clients. So of course, continued sales growth is always relevant metrics for how we are going forward. I think that it could maybe exciting to watch our gross profit as we go along, because the expectations is that we can continue improving this. And we will now fresh up our strategy when it comes to the product management and product positioning, and we may even also have new products or new product features that might drive sales with higher margins. So in the little bit longer run, maybe not this year, but in the next few years, we also hope to make real commercial breakthrough when it comes to proprietary products. These have kind of significant, they're unique and they have significant competitive advantages. So that would create a much more distinctive brand position, value proposition to customers, and build on top of the kind of unique position we have right now as a supplier or provider of organic branded ingredients. We will also provide new solutions to health problems. So I think that these innovative products maybe become extreme value drivers for the company, and it will provide us a more entrenched position in the nutraceutical markets, and hopefully provide double-digit growth potential both for sales and EBITDA. So those are good things to watch out for. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Stein. Then we know what to watch this coming quarters as well. Thank you for joining in and answering my questions.
Thank you. Thank you.